Close your eyes, my friend. I know the night can feel long when sleep won't come easily. Maybe your thoughts wander. Old memories, tomorrow's tasks, the gentle ache of missing someone you once danced beside. But tonight, let's set those worries down, just for a while. You've walked through decades of laughter, music, love, and change. You've seen vinyl records turn into streaming, letters into emails, and bell-bottoms fade into vintage treasures. Through all of it, you've been here, living, loving, learning. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it go. Feel your shoulders loosen. The world outside your window will wait for you. Tonight is only for rest. You've earned every quiet moment. Think of this as a small gift, a story meant only for you, like a soft song playing on an old jukebox in a cozy corner bar. Before we begin, if this gentle journey through time brings you even a spark of comfort, consider subscribing to the channel. It's a small way to keep these bedtime memories close whenever sleeplessness creeps in. And if you ever want to hear about a special song, a place you danced, or a memory you hold dear, leave a comment when you're rested. Your stories, after all, are part of what keeps these decades alive. Tonight we're going back to 1977. The disco lights are glowing, the mirrored ball is turning, and the bass line is pulsing like a heartbeat. Maybe you were in your 20s then, or maybe just finding your way. Perhaps you remember the soft click of a cassette player, or the thrill of stepping onto a dance floor that shimmered like stardust. Imagine for a moment, gold and silver reflections swirling around you, the faint scent of hairspray and vinyl, the distant sound of laughter under a velvet sky. The music isn't loud here. It's just enough to make your toes tap and your heart sway. This isn't about the noise of the world. It's about the rhythm of memories and the warmth of belonging. As we step into that year, let the worries of today blur into the background. Your bed becomes the dance floor, your breath the music. You're safe here, among friends, among memories, among stars. Let's take that first step onto the glowing tiles of the disco floor, hand in hand with your younger self. The lights dim, the music begins, and together, we're dancing through the disco era. The year was Mucin Baibizai, and summer evenings stretched long and golden over small American towns. Streetlights flickered on like fireflies, and the hum of distant radios drifted through open windows. Somewhere, a neighbor's sprinkler hissed across a freshly mowed lawn, and the scent of cut grass mingled with warm asphalt after a soft rain. In those days, every Friday night felt like a promise. Young people dressed carefully, polishing their shoes and fluffing their feathered hair. Even the air seemed electric with anticipation, as if the world itself was tapping its foot to a rhythm only the hopeful could hear. The local roller rink glowed under neon tubes, its parking lot full of cars with chrome bumpers and fuzzy dice hanging from rearview mirrors. Beyond the rink, in a repurposed old warehouse on Maple Street, the hottest disco in town was waking up. The mirror ball hung like a planet above the dance floor, waiting for the first burst of light to scatter stars across the room. Inside, the club smelled of vinyl records, perfume, and a hint of cigarette smoke carried on the breeze of an opening door. Rows of colored bulbs lined the walls, amber, emerald, crimson, casting soft halos on the faces of those already waiting to dance. The DJ, a local legend in a white blazer, tested the turntables with a knowing grin. Every scratch of the needle promised magic. For those who stepped in from the cool night air, time seemed to slow. There was no news, no deadlines, no noise from the outside world. Only the steady pulse of bass, the shimmer of polyester, and the comforting weight of being young, alive, and surrounded by friends who knew all your secrets. Maybe you remember a place like this. Maybe you remember the tremble in your chest, the first time someone reached for your hand under spinning lights. or the way your heart lifted when your favorite song came on, and for 3 perfect minutes, the world outside ceased to exist. The disco wasn't just a club, it was a refuge. It was where shy smiles turned into laughter, where broken hearts healed under a cascade of glitter, where even the quietest souls found themselves bold enough to step into the rhythm. And outside, the town slept peacefully, unaware of the small miracles happening behind that warehouse door. As the night deepened, headlights traced slow arcs along the streets. Couples leaned against car hoods, sharing secrets over the hum of engines. In distant backyards, fireflies blinked, and a warm breeze carried the faint echo of music, soft enough to be a lullaby, strong enough to stir a memory. In that moment, 1977 wasn't about politics or worry. It was about the simple joy of movement, the shared heartbeat of a bass line, the glow of friendship under neon skies. And tonight, as you drift towards sleep, we're stepping into that memory together, one gentle beat at a time. Outside the city centers, even the small towns caught the fever of disco. Old community halls, once used for bingo nights and wedding receptions, were transformed with little more than a rented sound system and a glittering ball from the hardware store. On warm Saturday nights, you could drive past these halls and see shadows twirling against the curtained windows, a low hum of music spilling onto quiet streets. The roads were lined with Chevrolets and Pontiacs, their paint catching the glow of street lamps. A couple might be sitting inside, finishing a shared milkshake, their laughter soft and unhurried. Farther down, a group of friends would be teasing one another, trading stories, adjusting collars and hems, nervous and excited for the night ahead. Inside the hall, someone's aunt had strung fairy lights across the ceiling beams. A punch bowl waited on a folding table, surrounded by paper cups. The DJ, barely older than the dancers, hunched over a stack of records, each vinyl sleeve worn from being played too many times. The first song wasn't even on yet, but anticipation hung thick in the air, like the brief pause before rain begins to fall. The decor was humble, streamers taped to the walls, a few borrowed houseplants in the corners, but to those who entered, it was magical. The mirrored ball spun slowly, even before the spotlight hit it, catching stray glimmers from the fairy lights. Friends greeted each other with hugs, and strangers exchanged shy smiles that hinted at the possibility of new memories. In a booth near the back, an older couple watched the younger crowd with fondness. Maybe they had been part of the swing scene in the 50s or slow danced to Elvis in their own youth. They recognized the same sparks of excitement, the same desire to escape the ordinary for a few hours of music and motion. They knew what it meant to have a song define a summer. The first notes finally drifted out, a slow build of strings, a teasing bass line, a soft cymbal shimmer. Conversations quieted, shoes squeaked gently on the polished floor, and one by one, bodies began to sway. Some dancers stepped out confidently, practiced in every move. Others hesitated, shy but hopeful. But soon, the hesitation melted, replaced by laughter and spinning skirts. The hall filled with life. Sequin tops caught the light, and wide collars fluttered with every turn. A young man in a brown suit jacket spun his partner clumsily, both of them laughing so hard they nearly stumbled. A girl in silver shoes closed her eyes for a moment, letting the rhythm wash over her, feeling, for that instant, limitless and free. Outside, the night was velvet dark and kind. Moths circled the porch light, and the occasional car passed, its tires whispering against the pavement. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked once, then settled back into sleep. Even the air seemed to sway gently, carrying the music a little farther, as if to remind the world that joy was alive and well. And now, as you listen, perhaps you can sense it too, that tender heartbeat of a bygone summer. Maybe you can picture the faces, the fashion, the glow of that small town hall. Maybe you can almost feel the wooden floor beneath your feet and hear the bass line vibrating softly in your chest. Let it wrap around you like a familiar blanket. Tonight, in your quiet room, those distant echoes reach you. They bring with them the warmth of community, the thrill of a favorite song, the innocence of youth. And though the world has changed, the feeling of belonging, of dancing like nobody's watching, remains timeless. The disco floor glimmered like a galaxy underfoot, each square glowing in a different color, as if the stars themselves had descended to guide the dancers. Among the crowd was Lena, 23, her hair feathered in soft waves that brushed her shoulders. She wore a sky blue jumpsuit with a thin silver belt, a thrift store treasure she had carefully mended by hand. Tonight, she felt ready for magic. Across the room, Michael leaned against a column, pretending to check the song list while secretly watching the dancers. His wide-colored white shirt shimmered faintly under the lights, and a single gold chain caught the glow of the mirror ball. He wasn't the best dancer, he'd be the first to admit it, but he loved the way music made the world fade away. The DJ slid a record from its sleeve, placed it on the turntable, and with a scratch of the needle, the familiar beat of a new favorite track pulsed through the speakers. The bass was deep, the melody playful, and the whole room seemed to inhale together before exhaling in a wave of movement. Lena stepped onto the floor, her silver shoes flashing. For a moment, she hesitated, but the music nudged her forward. Michael's friends egged him on with teasing grins. "Go on," one of them whispered. "She's dancing alone." He chuckled nervously, wiped his palms on his slacks, and took a step toward her. The crowd parted briefly as if the music itself wanted them to meet. Their eyes locked, just a glance, a heartbeat, and suddenly the noise of the room softened. Lena smiled, a small, uncertain curve of her lips. Michael extended his hand, not too close, not too forward, just enough for an invitation. She took it, her fingers light but warm. They began with a simple step, side to side, nothing fancy. But with each beat, their movements grew bolder, more in sync, as though they had been dancing together for years. Around them, the disco spun on. Sequins flashed like tiny comets. Friends formed circles, laughing and clapping. A group of girls sang along with the chorus, their voices slightly off-key but full of joy. The mirror ball sent shards of light skimming across the walls and over the dancers' faces, painting fleeting constellations on their skin. For Lena and Michael, the world outside, the bills, the jobs, the future, ceased to matter. All that existed was this song, this moment, and the way their feet found the beat without effort. He spun her gently, and her jumpsuit shimmered like liquid sky. She laughed, the sound clear and bright, and for a fleeting instant he felt weightless, as if gravity itself had loosened its grip. The DJ mixed into another track, smooth and seamless, and the crowd erupted with cheers. Lena and Michael didn't notice. They were lost in their own orbit, two stars circling each other under a galaxy of colored light. When the song finally faded, they didn't let go of each other's hands. Instead, they stepped off the floor, breathless, cheeks flushed, and found a quiet corner near the punch bowl. The hall was still alive with music and laughter, but in that small corner, time seemed to pause. Michael poured 2 paper cups of punch, offering one to Lena. They clinked cups in a mock toast, smiling shyly. Outside, the night hummed softly. A car passing on the road, a distant cricket song, the steady heartbeat of summer. In the quiet between songs, Lena thought of the years ahead, of unknown cities, of dreams she hadn't dared to speak aloud. But for tonight, she didn't need to plan or worry. She only needed the warmth of the moment, the music still echoing in her chest, and the gentle promise in Michael's kind eyes. Michael and Lena lingered near the punch bowl, the hum of conversation and distant laughter weaving around them like a soft blanket. The disco lights flickered across their faces, creating fleeting halos of color, pink, gold, emerald, that danced with every turn of the mirror ball. Michael took a small sip of his drink, then looked at Lena with a quiet wonder that surprised even himself. "You move like you've been dancing here forever," he said, his voice low so it wouldn't get lost in the music. Lena chuckled, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "Maybe I was just waiting for the right partner," she replied, her tone playful but tinged with sincerity. Outside, a gentle breeze stirred the curtains by the hall's open window, letting in the scent of night-blooming flowers. Another song began, a slower, groovier track that carried a touch of romance. The dance floor wasn't as crowded now. Some people had stepped outside to cool off or share whispered secrets under the stars. Michael hesitated, then extended his hand again. "One more?" he asked. Lena didn't answer right away. She only smiled, setting her cup aside before taking his hand. As they stepped back onto the glowing tiles, the world seemed to hold its breath. The bass line was a heartbeat, steady and comforting. They moved closer this time, their steps measured and gentle. Michael felt her pulse quicken under his palm, and Lena caught the faint scent of his cologne, a mixture of cedarwood and something faintly sweet, like memories of summer campfires. The mirror ball spun lazily overhead, sending fragmented light like fireflies across the room. A couple nearby twirled in perfect sync, but Lena and Michael didn't need perfection. They only needed the shared rhythm, the unspoken understanding that sometimes the best moments in life are the simple ones. A group of teenagers clapped along at the edge of the floor, cheering for a daring spin from another pair of dancers. The hall rang with laughter and applause, but Lena and Michael's little circle felt private, protected. They swayed slowly, not needing to impress anyone. Each step was a conversation, each glance a question and an answer all at once. As the song faded, they didn't rush to let go. Instead, they lingered in the last echoes of the melody, letting the silence settle like a soft quilt around them. Michael cleared his throat lightly. "There's a diner down the road," he said, almost shy. "Best pie in town. Would you like to go after this?" Lena's eyes softened, her lips curving into a smile that seemed to carry 1,000 unspoken stories. "Yes," she said simply. And with that single word, the night unfolded like a map leading to unknown adventures. Outside, in the parking lot, the neon sign buzzed faintly against the darkness. The stars above seemed unusually bright, as if they too were dancing to the fading echo of the music. Hand in hand, they stepped outside, the warm summer air wrapping them in its embrace. Behind them, the disco still pulsed with life, but ahead lay the quiet roads, the promise of pie and conversation, and perhaps the beginning of something neither of them had expected. A distant chorus from the next song followed them out the door, a reminder that some nights are meant to be remembered forever. As they walked toward Michael's car, the cricket's song mingled with the faint thump of bass from the hall. Lena looked up at the sky, feeling the vastness above and the steadiness of the hand she held. She didn't know where life would take them. Jobs would change, fashions would fade, songs would come and go, but tonight was theirs, and under the wide starry sky of 1977, that was enough. The diner's neon sign glowed pink against the velvet sky, its buzzing hum blending with the distant echo of disco beats fading into the night. Michael held the door open and a bell above it jingled softly, a small, familiar sound that felt like home. The aroma of fresh coffee and warm pie drifted toward them, wrapping the moment in simple comfort. Inside, the diner was nearly empty. save for a couple of truckers nursing late-night meals and a waitress humming under her breath as she wiped down a counter. The vinyl booths gleamed under soft fluorescent lights, and a jukebox in the corner glowed quietly, ready to play a song for anyone who asked. Michael and Lena chose a booth by the window, their reflections faintly shimmering against the dark glass. The waitress approached with a kind smile, taking their order, 2 slices of apple pie, vanilla ice cream on the side, and coffee strong enough to keep memories awake. Lena glanced out the window, watching the parking lot bathed in moonlight. "Tonight feels like it's standing still," she murmured, almost to herself. Michael followed her gaze, nodding. "Maybe it's one of those nights that stays with you," he said, his voice soft but certain. Their conversation meandered like an easy melody, stories of high school dances, favorite songs on the radio, dreams of seeing the world. Michael confessed that he'd once tried to grow an afro but gave up after 2 weeks. Lena laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee, the sound echoing through the quiet diner like wind chimes in a summer breeze. The jukebox clicked, and a familiar tune began to play, a ballad that had filled countless gymnasium dances and prom nights. The melody drifted through the room, slow and tender, and for a moment, Lena closed her eyes. The song carried her back to memories of backyard barbecues, of late-night drives with friends singing off-key, of a younger version of herself who believed the future was limitless. Michael watched her, the corners of his mouth lifting in a gentle smile. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, whether they'd meet again next Friday or if this night would be a beautiful, singular memory. But for now, he was content. The pie arrived, steaming and sweet, and they ate slowly, savoring each bite as though it might keep the moment from slipping away. Outside, a warm breeze whispered across the diner's parking lot, carrying the scent of lilacs from a nearby yard. The stars overhead burned steady and bright, silent witnesses to countless stories like theirs. Somewhere in the distance, a lone car drove past, its headlights sweeping briefly across the diner window before disappearing into the night. They lingered long after the plates were cleared, talking about everything and nothing, the kind of conversation that doesn't need purpose. As the clock above the counter ticked softly, they realized that sometimes life's most profound moments aren't marked by grand gestures or loud declarations, but by quiet connection, shared laughter, and a single night when time seems to wait. Lena traced a finger along the edge of her empty plate, her eyes meeting Michael's. "Thank you," she said simply. He tilted his head, a question in his expression. "For what?" She hesitated, then smiled. "For tonight, for making the world feel gentle again." Michael's reply was just a nod, but his gaze held a promise, a silent acknowledgement that he felt it too. Beyond the diner walls, the night stretched endlessly, carrying with it the echoes of music, the shimmer of disco lights, and the fragile, glowing possibility of new beginnings. Somewhere back at the hall, the mirror ball still turned, scattering stardust across an emptying floor. And somewhere inside them, a quiet joy lingered, ready to follow them into tomorrow. The drive back toward town was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels full rather than empty. The car's headlights carved gentle paths along the sleepy roads, catching glimpses of wooden fences, old mailboxes, and fields whispering under the night breeze. Lena leaned her head lightly against the window, watching the stars flicker above the horizon like distant, forgotten songs. Michael kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting casually near the radio dial. A soft tune played, something mellow, easy, a reminder that not every night needed a thumping bass line to feel alive. He glanced at Lena and found her eyes half closed, her lips curved into the faintest smile. In that moment, the world outside seemed far away, and all that existed was this small, quiet universe inside the car. They passed a row of darkened shops, a barber shop with its striped poles still and silent, a bakery with tomorrow's bread rising unseen, a hardware store whose windows reflected the starlight. The streets felt like they belonged to them alone, as if the universe had granted them a few more minutes suspended outside of time. When Michael stopped at a red light on Main Street, Lena turned to him, her voice soft. "It's funny," she said, "how a night like this can make you feel young and endless." He nodded, not needing to find better words. Sometimes the simplest truths didn't require decoration. They just existed, fragile and whole. The light turned green, and they drove on, the road stretching before them like a ribbon of possibility. At a small park on the edge of town, Michael pulled over. "Want to walk for a bit?" he asked. Lena agreed, and they stepped out into the cool night air. The park was empty, the swings still, the benches dotted with fallen leaves from trees that had seen countless summers. They strolled along a gravel path, the crunch under their shoes the only sound for a while. Lena paused near a small pond, its surface smooth and dark, mirroring the stars above. She reached for Michael's hand and he took it without hesitation. They stood there together, two silhouettes framed by the quiet beauty of a summer's night in 1977. A gentle gust of wind rustled the leaves, carrying with it the faint echo of distant music, maybe from another hall, another party, another story unfolding somewhere else. Lena closed her eyes, letting the breeze wash over her. She thought about all the nights yet to come, about the laughter and the heartbreak and the dance floors still waiting. But for now, this was enough. Michael squeezed her hand lightly. "You know," he said, "I don't think nights like these ever really fade, even when the songs change." Lena opened her eyes and smiled. "They just become part of who we are," she replied. The words settled between them like a promise, warm and steady. As they walked back to the car, the horizon was just beginning to soften, the faintest suggestion of dawn far in the distance. They didn't rush. The world would wake soon enough, and life would continue with all its noise and demands. But tonight, they had danced, they had laughed, and they had remembered what it meant to feel infinite for a little while. Back in the car, as Michael started the engine, Lena glanced once more at the sky. The stars seemed to wink knowingly, as if to say, "This memory is safe now, tucked away where time can't touch it." And as they drove toward the sleeping town, the lingering echo of disco lights and music followed them, a gentle reminder that some nights are meant to live forever in the heart. And now, dear friend, the dance floor has faded into memory. The music softened into a distant hum, and the stars outside your window are standing watch. You can let go of the day, its worries, its noise, its little demands, and rest in the gentle echo of a night long ago. Close your eyes and feel the weight of your blankets like a warm embrace. Imagine the shimmer of that mirror ball still turning slowly, scattering bits of light across your dreams. Maybe you're still swaying in that quiet hall, or sitting in a booth with pie and coffee, or walking beneath a sky that promised endless summers. Those moments don't disappear. They live quietly inside you, ready to return whenever you need comfort. You've earned this rest. Every wrinkle on your hands, every laugh line on your face, every song that ever carried you through a hard time, they're proof of a life lived fully. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, let the music of your own memories cradle you. The world outside can wait. Your only job now is to breathe deeply and let your body grow lighter with each exhale. If this story brought you a small smile or reminded you of a night you once danced without a care, I'd be honored if you subscribed to the channel. It's a way for us to keep sharing these gentle journeys through time together. And when you're rested, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe there's a song, a place, or a memory you'd like to revisit. Your stories keep these nights alive, and they just might help someone else fall asleep with a little less loneliness. So, good night, my friend. May your dreams be soft, your heart light, and your sleep deep. May you wake to a new day refreshed, with the distant echo of disco lights and laughter still glimmering in your soul. Sweet dreams, and until next time, we'll meet again on another dance floor, somewhere between the past and your next adventure.